Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me today in this hopefully very valuable webinar on how to improve cardiovascular conditions. So we're going to cover a variety of cardiovascular conditions. Probably the most focus will be on hypertension or high blood pressure. We can also discuss low blood pressure, other circulatory issues such as varicose veins, other cardiovascular issues such as heart palpitations, and then we will talk about causes, talk about different types of high blood pressure, and of course we'll talk about cures, and of course cholesterol, which is a type of cause of high blood pressure. Okay, so first let's talk about different types of cardiovascular conditions. Of course, the cardiovascular system is maybe the most critical system in our body, comprising both the blood, the heart, and both the arteries and the venous circulation. Modern medicine tends to focus more on the veins, not the arteries, but they need to also be viewed in this light. And as we know, these can be life-threatening conditions. So if you have a life-threatening condition, you should go to your doctor, and you may have to have medical treatment to avoid that. So and save your life. But if you have want to be preventive, or you're in early stages, or you're with your doctor, lower your blood pressure, then this information can be very valuable to you. So let's talk about the three main kind of categories of cardiovascular problems. And of course, this is based on Ayurvedic knowledge, and I'm doing my best to translate my understanding of Ayurveda for you, so you can benefit from this ancient wisdom, because they had many of these conditions in the past, and there's herbal treatments and natural treatments that can clearly help with improving your cardiovascular function, lowering your blood pressure, or increasing your blood pressure, improving overall circulation in the body, and also helping with other cardiovascular issues such as heart palpitations. If anybody has any particular cardiovascular problem, you're welcome to text me while I'm talking right now, and I can maybe try to respond to those. So let's talk about our cardiovascular system, which, in Ayurvedic terms, is actually comprised of three different systems: the Pranavayusutra, the breathing respiratory system; Raktavayusutra, which is the blood system, of course, and Rasavaya, which is the lymph or the blood and the blood plasma. So from an Ayurvedic point of view, there are three systems working together to support what in Western medicine we comprise of one system, mostly focusing on the veins. And here in Ayurveda, we're focusing on the entire system and all the different aspects that it can affect it, including the kidneys, which we'll discuss. So let's talk about the three categories in Ayurveda. Of course, it's a tri-doshic system based on the energetics of Vata, Pitta, Kapha, if you're with me there. So, but even if you don't understand Vata, Pitta, and Kapha and what these energetics are, you can still categorize yourself, and that's really the most important thing to first do, because only when you're have a good, clear understanding of the category of your imbalance are you able to treat it. And this is why people treating cardiovascular conditions have a kind of hit and miss success rate, because they haven't done proper diagnosis. So proper diagnosis is very important, and then once we also should look at removing causes, which we're going to talk about. So if we have a Vata type cardiovascular condition, we know Vata is cold, light, and active, then we're going to have more lean towards low blood pressure, irregular heartbeat, heart palpitations, even fainting. And one of the clear signs of this poor circulatory system for this Vata type is cold hands and feet. So often a Vata type of Prakriti or body type person, cold, light, hot, fairly active in their physical and mental state, and this creates a faster heartbeat, but at the same time not the strongest heartbeat. It's kind of, you feel the pulse, it's kind of like a little picking, like a bird, fast but not strong, and that's how you feel Vata in the cardiovascular system, or just by feeling your pulse. You can feel that the rate is fast, 70, 80, 90 beats per minute, and not strong. So this is the Vata type of cardiovascular system. Tends to be not a strong heart, not a strong beat, so we often don't have good circulation to the extremities, and so the whole hands and feet tend to be cold. And also Vata is very sensitive. They have a lot more anxiety, nervousness, and hypersensitivity, so they're very susceptible to their blood pressure going up due to anxiety and nervousness, and of course what's called a white coat syndrome. When you see the doctor, you become more anxious and your blood pressure goes up. So that type of person, a Vata type of person, the type who would have cardiovascular. And of course Vata is a state of restriction, so this means the arteries become constricted, and the blood vessels are restricted. It's also often associated with fear, anxiety, and stress. Those are also often causes. So if that sounds like your body type and your condition, then this is very important to understand, because I'm going to break these treatments down in each of these three categories. So that's the Vata type condition. Generally leans towards low blood pressure, but when they have high blood pressure, it means there's restriction in the blood vessel. And this type of restriction for Vata type of high blood pressure isn't necessarily due to high triglycerides or fat in the blood or blood lipids, but more due to the kind of depleted state of the blood vessels and the constriction that takes place through this depletion. Kind of like a garden hose. If you leave it out in the sun and it dries up, it kind of shrinks a little bit, and then the water doesn't go through it as well. It's that type of restriction in the blood vessels. So that's a Vata type. And they also can get varicose veins, spider veins coming up the spine, up the calf, and that's a typical sign. Not with clogging; it's usually without clogging in the veins, but we do get these spider veins, cold hands and feet, even though the blood pressure can be high, and that's due to this restriction. Okay, anybody think they're in that category? Let me know. So that's a Vata type of cardiovascular condition, which will result in first low blood pressure, then later it can result in high blood pressure, particularly brought on by tension, stress, anxiety, and fear. And when you're very fearful, then blood pressure can come up. And this type of person already had this tendency for anxiety, insomnia, nervousness. So when they're in a fearful situation, a fearful lifestyle environment, then the blood pressure can increase. So this is a Vata type of cardiovascular system. So next is Pitta. Pitta means fire, and this is usually evident in a person who has a warmer body temperature, stronger heartbeat. If you feel their pulse, you can feel it's more like a frog, boom, 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 hitting quite hard and strong, and that shows that the strength of their heart. And this person is really muscular, athletic in nature, warmer body temperature. So they have actually a very good heart, very good circulation. But it's also is a weak point, because one of the main doshic imbalances behind high blood pressure is Pitta. So it's a Pitta type. It's got warmer body temperature. We call this person a mesomorph because of their warmer body temperature. And they're the most susceptible to high blood pressure. And they have, in fact, the strongest, best heart. But because of the constitution tends to be easily inflamed, because the body is already quite warm by nature, they're susceptible to inflammation, even having a lot of spicy foods, tomatoes, onions, garlic, processed foods, and of course toxins. We're going to talk about causes to these three states in a moment, but toxins in the liver in particular can create more inflammation than in the arteries. So this type of blood pressure or hypertension is due to the inflammation in the arteries and the strong heart that this person tends to have if their body type is also Pitta type. And that's, you can feel the pulse very strong when you feel it. It's very clear if you feel the Pitta type of high blood pressure. And you can see the signs, the red ears. My ears aren't bright red, the same color as the rest of the body. The bright face. You can see veins often around this area, little veins. This is also a sign of that type of Pitta, high blood pressure. And it's more up in the head. Even eyes can become bloodshot. You see a lot of bloodshot eyes. Well, with the Vata, you see more of the spider veins down at the feet because the poor circulation, is creating these spider veins. And other signs for a Pitta type of high blood pressure is easy bruising and chest pain. Chest pain is a typical symptom. Still the viscosity of the blood becomes too much. As the blood thickens, viscosity, and then the anger, irritability, hatred, feelings of revenge, things like this will increase it. So, anything that's going to create more anger, alcohol will increase Pitta, and then alcohol then indirectly increase the blood pressure for this type. So you see the person who's angry, his face becomes red, and his blood pressure goes up at the same time. So those are the emotional triggers for this type of blood pressure. It's this type of anger, and it's starting a lot of times in the liver, due to toxicity in the liver. The Vata type, which we mentioned earlier, is usually starting from toxicity accumulating in the colon, then getting in the circulatory system, and this toxicity is creating a restriction in the veins and arteries. So the third type is a Kapha type of cardiovascular condition. And Kapha, we know, is a heavy, slow type of person, and the qualities are heavy, slow, dense, thick, oily, cold, cool. So this type of person, tends to be overweight, and symptoms of the high blood pressure can be swelling, particularly in the ankles, varicose veins, but more with clotting, little lumps, compared to little spider veins of the Vata type, more clumps and blood clots, we could say. And then, of course, the most typical cause here is the high triglycerides, which results in high cholesterol levels. And this makes the blood thick, and these fatty molecules deposit in blood vessel walls and lead to narrowing of the arteries and possibly heart attacks. It's very serious. Yeah, there are other causes of high blood pressure. Of course, this would even blockage in kidneys, which can push up blood pressure as well. We're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on these three types that I mentioned right now. And I hope that you have found which of the three that you feel that you are most associated with having a type of cardiovascular problem. And we can talk about the causes a little bit, and then, of course, the cures, because the cure always has to be removing the causes. So cure isn't all taking an herb, hawthorn berry, mugwort, there's many, proven very effective herbs for cardiovascular conditions. But if you don't know the type that you are, and you don't understand the cause, and then you're really not treating it, because we must treat the cause. So let's go back to the first type there, the Vata type of cardiovascular condition. Probably the least dangerous of the three. And in fact, Vata type tend to have low blood pressure. in general, unless they've had a lot of fried foods, eating a lot of animal protein, and increasing the cholesterol level in the body, the blood fat, and then they have more vata kapha type of blood pressure, where they have constricted arteries due to a weaker heart due to their vata, combined with the fat that's accumulated over time from the fried foods, frying in olive oil, too much animal protein, red meat, of course. So if you're a vata type and you have low blood pressure, then of course you're going to do good with herbs like ashwagandha, ginseng, things that are known to increase blood pressure, and even more Himalayan salt. A lot of people are afraid of salt, but if your blood pressure is low, this Himalayan salt can help you absorb more water and actually help improve your blood pressure. And these adaptogen type of herbs like ashwagandha, ginseng can also improve and increase blood pressure. And yes, it's much easier to increase the blood pressure slightly than it is to lower it. So I would say most vatas are suffering more with low blood pressure. You know, the low blood pressure, you get dizzy, you get lightheaded, if you can faint because you're not getting enough oxygen to the body, and so the body then collapses, so the body's level, and then the blood is able to reach the brain and recover. So it can be also harmful in the sense that when you faint, you can fall and hurt yourself. So, you know, your low blood pressure is a major killer in our society, but it's not considered healthy and typical for this vata type of person. And it can be easily managed with some of these herbs that I said, and even adding much more salt to the diet. But if you have the high triglycerides, then you have kind of, like I said, vata kapha type of blood pressure. And then we need to bring down the fat in the blood, which I'm going to talk about. And the causes, of course, are often poor digestion, constipation. And most people wouldn't consider constipation as a cause to high blood pressure because, you know, our modern medical world is very specialized, and everybody has a specialization now, which allows the medical practitioner to go deeper into his particular field of study. But unfortunately, there's less understanding of the integration of these different systems. And this is clearly the case here, where poor digestion and constipation, you know, is creating pressure due to this constipation. And then there's this type of autotoxicity taking place after 40 years of even mild constipation. And this toxicity then goes through the bloodstream and creates this type of restricted flow. And then ultimately, if there's the diet's appropriate and the liver function is poor, then the fat accumulates. That's how we have that type of high blood pressure. So then the kapha type is the most simple in a way, really the most well known. It's due to heavy weight on the body, extra weight on the body. Whenever you have an extra 10, 15 pounds in the body, then it's a burden for most of the other systems in the body, particularly the heart, who has to circulate the blood to this extra space that it wasn't really designed to do. And then if kapha tends to put on weight and accumulate fat easy because of slower metabolism in the body. And when you feel this thick blood in the body, it's really not that difficult. Feel, you know, high blood fat or triglycerides in the pulse. When you feel the pulse, you know, you can feel it's kind of like a swan. It's really soft. It's like, and that's the thickness of the blood viscosity. And it doesn't take long to be able to feel that. You can feel it just like with a pitta type high blood pressure. You see the red face, the red ears, and the veins coming out in this area. You see people with the little red veins around here. So that's a high blood pressure. But with a kapha type person, you can feel the blood's thick, and you can see the metabolism is slow. And if you go to the doctor, he's going to say your low density lipoproteins are high, triglycerides are high, and hopefully try to give you some good advice. The best advice for this type of kapha, cardiovascular condition, where you have thick blood, fatty blood, about what we want. Blood is thick and not circulating well, and creating possible blockages, heart attack, stroke. It's to become a vegetarian, cut back on all red meat, at least dark meat, and maybe just a little fish. And instead of getting your protein from this animal protein, including cheese, you want to get it from legumes, beans, and maybe even 2-3 months of just eating beans as your main protein source and a very controlled fat diet, then you can naturally bring down the fat in your blood in a relatively short period of time. Of course, liver herbs and liver tea, this can also help to improve cholesterol levels by just cleaning out the blood. So, we're going to talk about that in a minute, like liver tea, liver herbs. These are very helpful if you have this type of high blood pressure or cardiovascular condition. Because this kapha type of cardiovascular condition, obviously it's got thick blood and can block the arteries, but you also can see other signs like cellulite in the legs, you can see varicose veins with clotting, poor circulation, clammy hands, and discomfort when they're having oily or fried foods because the liver has become possibly fatty and enlarged, and that's why the cholesterol levels are high. So the treatment becomes focusing on improving the liver function, lowering the fat in the blood. And the fastest way to do that is with liver detoxifying herbs and a vegetarian diet using legumes. So very, very effective. And particularly if you include other herbs that are going to help to lower the blood fat. In fact, we have herbs called cholesterol formula, and using Ugalur. We're going to talk about those in a minute. So we'll go one more type here, and that's the Pitta type we talked about. Again, the red nose, maybe nauseated, nosebleeds, gallbladder toxicity. Well, the kapha type 2 can get the gallbladder blockage. Once you've had your gallbladder removed, then you can conclude that it was clogged or congested due to excess fat in the liver, and then we can assume that your liver has still remained in this fatty condition, and that makes you very susceptible to having thick blood, and this is not helpful in your cardiovascular system. Just like in a car, if the blood oil gets too thick, then it can be very damaging to the entire engine because it's not able to circulate fast enough. And this is the same thing. So we can give it names like triglycerides, LDL, cholesterol, but in fact, blood becomes thick and circulation becomes poor, and the probability of blockages and clotting in the arteries increases. So it's very serious, and you should see a doctor if you're in danger. However, and you should also become a vegetarian right away and stop fried foods, oily foods, and use very carefully use oil such as sunflower oil, which is very thin, light oil we use for fatty liver, gallbladder problems, and cholesterol. So if you take out all your chicken, your fish, fried foods, your egg yolks, and all of this, and then you're just using little sunflower oil, a couple tablespoons a day, and eat beans 2-3 times a day, you will see your cholesterol levels come down as steady over the next couple months. Back to the Pitta type, there's more redness, heat, and this is a very dangerous type too because you can have the quick stroke, and this is due to the inflammation in the artery. So what we do in this case is we want to bring down inflammation. Just like with the Vata type, we have to focus on the nervous system, help the person remain calm and relaxed to bring down blood pressure. With a kapha type, we want to clean out the liver and get the blood more thin and reduce the triglycerides and cholesterol, basically. With the Pitta type, we want to bring down, and this type of person who has other areas of inflammation in the body, such as the muscles or the joints, they have high blood pressure, and often they have muscle pain, or joint pain, or arthritis due to this inflammation. So the beauty is, when we bring this inflammation down, not only will their risk of cardiovascular problems reduce, the muscle pain and joint pain would also reduce. And of course, there's always foods that increase inflammation, foods that increase in coffee, alcohol, sugar. Sugar is very inflammatory. Many people who had muscle pain, fibromyalgia, inflammatory colon conditions, inflammation in the arteries, etc., found if they had more sugar, these conditions got worse. Now, often you don't notice it because if you're consuming sweets and on a daily basis, then you may not notice it. But if you stay off of the sweets for a month, we're not saying not fruit, we're just talking about processed white sugar here, which is so harmful and inflammatory and depleting. It's nutritionally depleting in the body and creates inflammation. Once people are off for a month, and then they go on and they have that little candy bar or something, then you actually feel some of this muscle pain come back. So if you have muscle pain, muscle tenderness, joint pain, and you have a warm body and your face is red, your ears are red, here, and doctors have high blood pressure, you're definitely in this category of pitta type high blood pressure, very dangerous. You could have a quick stroke. So you may have to take medication or remain on medication until you're able to manage this as quickly as possible. But you definitely want to eliminate all these inflammatory foods, which also include nightshades, tomatoes, eggplant, bell peppers. For most people with high blood pressure, we take out the nightshades, tomatoes, eggplants, bell peppers, paprika, white pepper, because not only are they inflammatory, but they also restrict the circulation in the body. And, so they're harmful for both the type of high blood pressure and the high blood pressure. Okay, so now hopefully you got yourself a category there and you understand the type of cardiovascular condition that you have. And let's talk about some treatments. We can go back to the kapha type where you have the fatty liver, high cholesterol, overweight. So obviously going, like I said, vegetarian, it's very helpful there. Removing all cheese. You don't have to be radical and remove dairy. All dairy, ghee, butter isn't inflammatory, as many people think that dairy is inflammatory. And, maybe cheap dairy from the store that's processed and homogenized has some inflammatory aspect, but not inflammatory. In fact, for pitta type of high blood pressure, we give herbs in ghee. And ghee in particular is much safer than having butter for cholesterol. And really the main cause is not good butter or ghee, but just the overconsumption of other animal proteins, including cheese, red meat in particular. So you'd want to take those out, be on a weight loss plan, get more exercise, and then focus on getting this cholesterol down. We're talking about the kapha type, and one of the best herbs for lowering cholesterol in Ayurvedic terms is called guggulu. It's a resin, comes from like a sap, comes from the mountains, and here's a formula called cholesterol lowering formula. Works quite well. Most people may need a couple jars of it, but it does work there. So, and the main ingredient, the first ingredient, is guggulu, and then we have amlaki. There's a little cinnamon and arjuna and the bhumamalaki. But that's why it's dark, almost black, because of the arjuna. Because of the guggulu. Guggulu is black. I could show you some in a minute. And then you'd also want to focus on the liver. Cleaning out the liver, because we want to lower the blood fat. And the blood by itself isn't, an active organ with its own metabolism. It's, the just carrier, the blood vessels. What we're really is managing the fat levels in the blood is the liver. So if you have cholesterol problem, in fact, you have liver problem. And we could say you have a problem of liver digesting, the liver's become too congested. And that's why a lot of the same people who have high cholesterol had their gallbladder removed. So we have liver teas, many liver herbs, dandelion, bergamot, milk thistle. These can be very helpful in increasing the bile in the blood. And again, you want to be careful taking some of these herbs if you are particularly on blood thinners, because they're going to have much of the same effect in thinning the blood. And of course, we know the harm of having low platelets and having the blood too thin can be a life-threatening condition. So that would be the way we would treat that type of kapha, high blood pressure or cholesterol, is to change to the vegetarian diet, get out this dairy, and clean out the liver with liver herbs, liver tea, and using sunflower oil, light oil, not coconut oil. Don't be using coconut oil if you have cholesterol or even high blood pressure. I know it's very popular now, but it's a thick, efficacious oil, and we want a light oil, almond oil, olive oil, sunflower oil. These are much more preferred, even though nutritionally it may not be as solid. But what we're focused on is thinning out the blood, lowering the blood fat levels. So we also have a heart tea here. We're going to talk about a few of these herbs there today. And that's improved circulation and lowers blood pressure. And I don't know if you can see that there, but the first ingredient is hawthorn leaf. And we also have hawthorn berries in there. So I think that's going to be our first herb for today. The hawthorn berry. Now, of course, we grind these up. Hawthorn berries whole. I like to get them whole, and we just grind them up slightly. And we put them in a tea. And you can also, of course, use it in a powder. But it's in there. And we use the leaf and the berry. And here somebody just brought me some boogaloo. Boogaloo is a black resin, and that's what it looks like, boogaloo. It's excellent at lowering cholesterol. And then what else is in there? We've got, of course, motherwort. Motherwort's a really ancient herb. The Greeks used it to soothe anxiety, particularly for pregnant women. It helped with postnatal depression. And the North American Indians and Cherokee Indians used it as a sedative for nervous conditions. And, through the 18th and 19th century, motherwort was also used for even promoting menstruation and supporting women after birth. So that's why I got the name motherwort. Good for mothers. Don't worry, men. You can have it too. Particularly as a cardiovascular tonic, it's excellent because it's a mild vasodilator, so it's helping to dilate the cardiovascular system and improve circulation. It's and it's mild antispasmodic, and it's relaxing. You can also see the motherwort in relaxing teas, anxiety formulas, but it's particularly good at helping to relax the heart muscles. So it's used a lot for heart, which is more of a vata condition. Remember, the vata usually has low blood pressure, but they get these heart palpitations and irregular heartbeat. And motherwort is excellent at this. You can also include motherwort, passion flower, which is in here too. Passion flower is a nervine, used in the relaxing tea, and oat straw too, which is also nervine, also used in relaxing teas, anxiety formulas, sleeping formulas, any neurological conditions, because oat straw supports the nervous system. And then we put in some hibiscus, because even people who have had high blood pressure and have a lot of antioxidants, and let's say in the form of hibiscus, have noticed that the diastolic pressure does lower slightly due to hibiscus. Probably not enough by itself, but it is a secondary supportive herb in here. And then we use rosemary and cinnamon, which are very good for the circulatory system and helping to thin the blood. So I've got a very powerful formula because it's a tea. Teas are, decoction or infusion form, and they're not strong, so it's probably not strong enough to lower blood fat. It's definitely going to thin out the blood circulation and relax the heart muscles. But combined with the gugulo, which is really helping very quickly blood fat, particularly on a vegetarian diet, then you're going to get very nice results for this type of kapha type of person, who will probably end up losing weight on this program as well, because the blood pressure in this case is not so much a disease in itself, but a symptom of this condition of their circulation and high amount of fat in their liver and ultimately in their blood. Let me do a few more herbs here. Here's motherwort. Well, I just talked about it. It means lion's heart. And it's a very ancient herb used by the Greeks, the Romans, as I mentioned earlier. Very nice. And it can be used by itself, like I said, for heart palpitations. And then we also have other circulatory herbs here, particularly for that Vata type. Let's jump over to that Vata type, the heart palpitations, the cold hands and feet. You have cold hands and feet, then we use this circulation tea. And it says strengthens and tones the veins, reduces swelling, used for varicose veins, hemorrhoids, swollen implants, and cold feet. So, and the main ingredient is ginkgo, and there's the hawthorn leaf again, because the hawthorn is good at clearing congestion in the arteries. And butcher's broom, and also there's the rosemary and cinnamon again, and rose hips. So, and a little ginger. This is very effective for the Vata type person. And if you have the heart palpitations, then we can mix it with the motherwort. And that's circulatory tea plus the motherwort, will circulation in that type of person, slightly put up the blood pressure, which you want when the person has a low blood pressure and the poor circulation. Warm the hands and feet, and the motherwort, and of course you have to remove the coffee, the Red Bull, the stimulants, and any stimulating drugs that you may be doing to not aggravate the nervous system, because the nervous system is aggravated and we're going to have these heart palpitations. So circulation tea is very effective for that. And butcher's broom, the main ingredient. Butcher's broom, also a very old European herb used for circulatory problems, particularly varicose blood clotting, poor circulation. And the first ingredient in there was actually ginkgo. Ginkgo comes from an ancient tree that's apparently millions of years old, still around. And it's helping with cognitive function, improving circulation to the brain. So it's in brain formulas, it's in memory formulas. But overall, it's improving circulation, just particularly helping with cognitive function. And that's the first herb in the circulatory formula. And Coca-Cola also is in there. Coca-Cola also helps with circulation. And there's the rosemary, which I have growing in the garden as well. Also helping with circulation, very warming. Now, you have to, all these warming herbs like I'm talking about here, particularly rosemary and googaloo, you don't want to give this type to that pitta type. I'm kind of jumping around here between these three types and talking about the different cures. Because remember, that pitta type gets hot, warm, anger makes it go, and it's more due to inflammation in the arteries, not so much fat in the arteries. But if you take all this rosemary, ginger, and googaloo, which is very heating, you could actually make the pitta type of high blood pressure worse. It could go up instead of down, because you have to. Herbs aren't so much lowering the blood pressure; they're dealing with causes that you have in your system. And the googaloo is thinning the blood through its heat and its cleaning and scraping qualities, and clearing out the arteries. But it's using heat to do this. And when you have a pitta type person that has a high body temperature, the red face, the heat, the burning, and the cause is not so much the blood fat as it is the inflammation, you don't want to use these ginger, rosemary, and googaloo. You need to bring down the inflammation. And one of the best ways to bring down the inflammation is, through many anti-inflammatory herbs. I know turmeric has a lot of popularity nowadays, but it's not used much in practical herbology, except for cooking and mild anti-inflammatory conditions. Mostly we're using boswellia, frankincense. This is one of the best. And amlaki, which is high, like a hibiscus. It's high in vitamin C and antioxidants. And we combine that together, boswellia, amlaki, and a little bit of ginger. That's to help you digest this boswellia. Boswellia, frankincense, coming from the frankincense tree, either in India or Oman area in the Middle East, is very, very effective for bringing down inflammation. We have a formula here, anti-inflammatory formula, and the main ingredient is this boswellia resin powder formula. Now, just the frankincense oil isn't going to be enough. You need to be consuming it. So, by consuming this frankincense resin with amlaki and a little turmeric and some little bit of ginger to help you digest it, because it is a resin, so it needs that ginger, turmeric just to help you digest it. Then we'll see inflammation come down in the whole body. Coming down in the body, then you have muscle pain. If you've had gingivitis, you're bleeding and burning, this inflammation in your muscles. Your joints have been hurting and they're warm and hot and heating up. This is inflammation in your joints. And then you more than likely have inflammation in your arteries too at the same time. Hopefully you are a vegetarian and you don't have it combined with high blood fat plus inflammation. Then you have the most serious type of cardiovascular condition, where you have the inflammation plus the high blood fat or cholesterol simultaneously. So the greatest probability of clogging, because we know the inflammation creates cholesterol buildup in that area to protect the veins, and then high blood fat in the fat has a higher probability of severe clogging, heart attack, or stroke. So if it's low cholesterol, you just have an inflammatory, high inflammatory or pitta type of high blood pressure, then the first thing we want to do is we want to bring down the inflammation. And I talked about some of the foods that would need to be removed too: coffee, chocolate, sugar, nightshades, tomatoes, and even garlic. See, people always think, oh, garlic for high blood pressure, but not if you have this pitta type. Only garlic is useful for the kapha type, where there's real fat, cholesterol, high triglycerides, and garlic's very good. But if you don't have this fat and high triglycerides, and you start giving garlic to this person with high inflammation and high body heat, you could make the condition worse. And all three types can use this type of heart formula here, which I'm giving to all my clients. It's an traditional Ayurvedic heart formula made of multiple herbs. And the main herb and the most famous herb in Ayurveda for bringing down blood pressure, improving overall circulation, and helping even with this heart palpitations is Arjuna. And it's a bark, Arjuna bark. It's very famous, and you can even get Arjuna tea. It's been very famous for thousands of years in India. And when you're in India, a lot of people are drinking Arjuna tea every day to prevent cardiovascular problems. But once you have the situation, it's probably better to take it in a powder format over taking it in tea format, because in powder, these herbs are much stronger. And the next herb after that is Shalpushpi, which is like a nervine, like passion flower, and Jatamansi, also another nervine, like oat straw, supporting the nervous system. And then a very important herb called Sapganda. Sapganda is like motherwort in a way. It's very relaxing. It's also in the sleeping formulas, but it's very good at helping to relax the heart muscle. Very important. 30% of this formula is Sapganda. And then there's Gotakola, which is the same as ginkgo. And sometimes we put Brahmi in there too if there's a mental aspect. So this can be used for all types. This is PK on it. That means it can be used for Vata, Pitta, or Kapha type of blood pressure conditions. We would just combine it for the Pitta type with the inflammation in the body. We combine it with the anti-inflammatory. So you have the heart formula, improving over circulation and cleaning out the arteries. And well, the heart formula is bringing down inflammation simultaneously. And then we put that person on a diet of spicy, hot foods, no garlic, no tomatoes, no onions. And for the kapha type person, we would use more liver herbs or cholesterol formula. This is for the high cholesterol type of high blood pressure, plus the heart formula, all three. So we would improve liver function and we'd lower cholesterol and lower the blood pressure. And that person should be on a vegetarian diet and almost no dairy. And then for the vata with a heart palpitations, assuming low blood pressure, then we want to focus on the nervous system if they had high blood pressure, because this is the type of person that blood pressure goes up when they're nervous. So we use nervines. We have oils, which we can, brain oil, we can put in the nose, relaxing teas, calming teas. That type of person would do very good on the heart tea, maybe even combined with circulation tea together if they really had cold hands and feet. And then, of course, the Ayurvedic formula for all three types. It's a different combination based on the causes and types of the condition. And here's another even oil that we use for copper oil. This is used for clotting in the veins, cellulite. It's hot oil using mustard oil. You massage it on the thighs, and this breaks up the clotting. Somebody just asked me a question, Arjuna for all types. Yes, so Arjuna is pretty much considered tri-doshic. I think it personally works better than hawthorn berry. I mean, hawthorn berry is considered one of the best Western herbs for improving cardiovascular condition and clearing the arteries. But I believe Arjuna bark works better. So I think I've covered a lot there. Let me just review quickly. First, and then we could be open to questions after the recording stops. We want to first diagnose or categorize our type of cardiovascular condition. Are we have poor vata type, or we have poor circulation, cold hands and feet, heart palpitations, and maybe blood pressure goes up sometimes when we're nervous, but we tend to have low blood pressure? That's the vata type. Got to know what category it is. That person, needs more ghee, more butter, diet, and actually drinking dairy could make this condition worse. In fact, we give this person often herbs for the cardiovascular condition in ghee. And really the big focus should be on the nervous system, the nervines, the sleep, lowering stress if there's blood pressure. And then the pitta type, where you get hot, red, and the ears, you can see the ears are red. If you see bright red ears in people, generally it's high blood pressure. For this pitta type, and susceptible to anger, or sometimes they have a job like working in the military or the police where it's very high intention. There's more than just stress, but there's reasons to be yelling, or there's like a lawyer where there's a lot of tension in the job, and then they can high blood pressure, type of high blood pressure, they become red and hot, and then the blood pressure goes up. Remember, this type, we have a different type of diet. We don't give them the garlic and the warm food, the hot foods. No, we actually have to cool the body down and to get rid of these inflammatory foods, to get this inflammation down. Get the coffee, the alcohol, the tomatoes, the sour foods. This person often has acid reflux and GERD along with it, muscle pain. Get that inflammation tends to be the main focus. And then the third type, which is the most common, where there's high triglycerides. We do a strict vegetarian diet, maybe only 2 meals a day, highly controlled fat, just using sunflower oil each day, getting in more exercise, losing weight, getting cholesterol down, all simultaneously. So, you want to know which type you are, and then you can better understand what's happening in your body that created these cardiovascular conditions. So we focused on high blood pressure, but this is just a serious one. Heart palpitations, irregular heartbeat is also quite serious. Low blood pressure can be serious, and inflammation in general can be very damaging to not just the arteries but whole. So don't think that you take a pill and you've solved the problem. These underlying causes would still remain, and then you could have more complications in other areas. So, for example, if you have inflammation in the arteries and you took a medicine to thin your blood, well, you still have the inflammation. So now your muscles are still hurting, your joints are still hurting. I mean, you may not die because you're taking the blood thinner, but you haven't addressed the underlying cause of inflammation. Same if your blood pressure medication and your blood pressure is due to anxiety and nervousness. Well, this shattered and nervous system still exists. So your blood pressure may be okay, but now you're still off with anxiety attacks, insomnia, heart palpitations and other complications because you didn't address the root cause, which was your nervous system, maybe your lifestyle, your stress, and even depletion in the body. It's like too much fasting, missing meals, dieting too much, and then the person becomes weak, the nervous system becomes sensitive, heart starts palpitating, and blood pressure can come down, you can faint. So you want to address these causes. Same with the copper type. You could take a blood thinner, you take a statin for your cholesterol, and this may save your life, but you still have this problem in your liver because you didn't address it, you didn't clean out the liver, so you could have gallbladder problems, fatty liver problems, and other complications. So it's better to try to remove these causes at a deep level, and then when these causes are removed, then the symptom, which is your cardiovascular problems, and what we're talking about mostly here, high blood pressure, would be resolved naturally over time. But once again, I recommend that you always work with your doctor and not do anything abruptly with medication without working with somebody professional and getting approval from your medical doctor to get off the medication. So for anybody coming to me with any of these life-threatening conditions such as hypertension, I always tell them that only the doctor can take you off the medication, but you can work here to reduce these causes, which we talked about, anxiety or high blood fat, liver problems, inflammation, and then naturally the blood pressure will come down, and then when the doctor see the lower blood pressure, he will lower your medication, accordingly. This is the proper way to do it, nothing radical. But what we're doing here with these treatments is we're removing the causes, and then when the causes are removed, the symptom of the blood pressure comes down, and the doctor can determine that, adjust medications accordingly. And I've written testimonials for the success of this approach based on Ayurvedic principles, thousands of years old. So I hope that I've conveyed this information accurately. Forgive me if I've made any mistakes in my presentation here. However, I have been in practice for a long time and have hundreds of successful cases of people being able to get off of their medication by their doctor using these treatments, or often avoiding having to take medication using these treatments. So feel free to contact me if you need help in this area. It's a life-threatening situation. I wouldn't experiment too much on yourself. Maybe some of these herbs and formulas can be used in a preventive way or in very early stages, but in later stages you should seek professional help. Somebody who's a professional herbalist and has a history of resolving these cardiovascular problems, because it is life-threatening. And then keep going to your medical doctor and allow him to make the decisions about your medication. Okay? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this helps you understand the importance of having good cardiovascular health and the different types of cardiovascular imbalances and the power, effectiveness of these herbs given properly in the right doses in the right time to the right people, then it's very, very effective. So, again, proceed with caution and work with somebody who has experience in this area. Contact me if you like more information, and thank you very much for the recording at this point.
Greetings from beautiful Southern California. I sincerely hope you learned from this video and benefited from all the information. This knowledge is not my knowledge, nor is this information new, but part of the ancient healthcare system called Ayurveda, the science of life. I hope my videos explaining the Ayurvedic approach in a simple and clear manner helped you to overcome your health issues. However, if you have a complex or serious health condition, I highly recommend that you contact me personally so I can meet with you here in my clinic in Ojai, California, or in an online conference call, so I can properly diagnose your condition and provide you with an individualized diet and custom herbal formulas. Then I will follow up and continue to support you until you have recovered. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel below and visit my website for more information, appointment fees, upcoming events, and my schedule, where you can book an appointment directly online. Thank you once again, and I wish you the best of health and happiness.